As a recovering dramaholic, this has become a genuine lifesaver for me. I used to work for someone who was a bit of a bully. She would slip between acting like your very best friend and then coming down on you like a ton of bricks for being 30 seconds late. If you spoke to her in private, she would always have something bad to say about somebody else on the team, which meant that you were always wondering what she was saying about you. And of course, nothing was ever her fault. You get the picture. One day there was a big fuck up at work, and I was called into her office. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I would be humiliated, criticised, blamed, and as I always did, I would just go mute and take it and then hate myself later. And as I walked down the street that morning, I realised that I was already making myself small. My shoulders were curving forward, my head was lowered. I was literally turning myself into the victim that my boss seemed to want me to be. That realisation changed absolutely everything. I saw what was actually happening and I opted out of the drama triangle that was brewing. The drama triangle is a nasty, manipulative game that we get sucked into without even realising that it's happening. In a nutshell, this is a model for understanding really common everyday power plays, and we participate in this game by stepping into one of three particular roles. The persecutor, that's the bully, the rescuer, who is the saviour, or the helpless victim. The persecutor blames and criticises, trying to gain a sense of power by punishing or belittling the victim they see in the game. The rescuer looks like the good guy compared to the persecutor because they try to gain their sense of power by saving the victim. And finally, there's of course the victim, who plays just as active a role in drama as the other two. The victim tries to gain their sense of power by proving that they're in a perpetual state of disadvantage and thus manipulating other players into helping them and helping them and helping them. Something important to understand though is that no one plays just one of these roles, and no one escapes any of the roles either. We all do all of them, because once we step onto the triangle, we proceed to cycle through all the roles, often over and over, and we always wind up down in victim. Be honest with yourself. When the pressure is on, are you likely to become imposing, dominant, or critical? Do you find yourself blaming other people often? If so, then you might be someone who gets hooked into drama via the persecutor role. Or do you recognise yourself as more of a people pleaser? Do you get a real hit out of being needed? And if you're super honest with yourself, do you have a habit of not really believing that other people can sort themselves out without your help? If so, you may be someone who gets hooked into drama via the role of rescuer. Finally, do you find yourself complaining or engaging in self-pity often? Do you secretly hope that someone or something is going to come along and save you because you don't really believe that you can do it yourself? If so, then you're probably somebody who gets hooked into drama via the role of victim. Whatever your preferred role, please do not panic. This game is so ingrained in how we interact with each other that no one is truly free of it. It's everywhere. Each one of these roles offers a way for us to try and get our needs met by manipulating other people into meeting them for us, so we don't have to do the vulnerable and difficult thing, which is to actually ask for what we need or put ourselves out there to get it. I call it say the awkward thing. Basically, if we're on the drama triangle, there is always an awkward thing that we are avoiding saying. To get off it, we need to take a deep breath, get real with ourselves for a moment, and then say the thing. Here's what that's likely to look like in each role. To opt out of drama, the persecutor consciously chooses to swap their aggression, criticism, and blaming for assertiveness. This means that they ask for what they need rather than demand it, and they do so without punishing, domineering, or putting other people down. This is a vulnerable thing to do, partly because it's just hard to ask for what you need, but also because it means the answer will sometimes be no and that we have to accept that, which is particularly hard for somebody who's used to controlling those around them. For the rescuer to opt out of drama, they need to swap their meddling and unsolicited advice for a new belief in and respect for other people's ability to think for themselves and to ask for their needs to be met. This also means that the rescuer must start to acknowledge their own ability to ask for their needs to be met. Again, this is a hard thing for anyone to do, but particularly for rescuers who have likely built up a facade of strength and sortedness to go with their hero persona. And finally, the victim needs to make the decision to drop their enduring sense of being hard done by, disadvantaged, or helpless, and choose instead to start acknowledging their own power, their own ability to use their thinking and their feeling to work out how to get their needs met appropriately. Let me come back to the story of my boss and the imminent bollocking. When I realised that I was literally turning myself into a victim as I walked to work that day, I was able to make a really subtle but mind-blowingly powerful change. Now, this wasn't actually that long ago, so I knew about drama triangle, and I therefore knew that my boss had an unmet need for control. She was panicking, in all honesty. And in order to try and make herself feel better, as a classic persecutor, she was getting ready to turn me into a scapegoat with blame and criticism. And I was that close to letting it happen, because I played a role in that game too. Some part of me loved to bitch about my evil boss with my co-workers, and so I was just as instrumental in those power dynamics as anyone else. But seeing what was happening so clearly on that day gave me another option, and I realised that I just didn't want to play the game anymore. So I changed my body language, I stood up tall, I lifted my chin, and I decided to walk into that meeting as an equal, not the victim, which I did. And when I sat down, I looked my boss in the eye and I told her that I needed to talk this through calmly, looking at the bare facts before jumping to any conclusions. And that is exactly what actually happened. The absolute monster that I'd been making my boss out to be was a totally different person when I changed the role that I was playing. I went home that day feeling a hell of a lot lighter and stronger. To sum this up, when a relationship in your life is feeling less than great, you probably have two choices. You can either jump straight onto the drama triangle and battle indefinitely and fruitlessly, or you can say the awkward thing.